Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger back in the old USA. Just got back last night and it's time to resume our our KFIR Middle East update. And this is the week of October 23rd. So what's going on? Well, echoes of Gog and Magog. Everything that is taking place with Russia just seems to be more and more proof that the scriptures are coming into clear focus regarding the end of days. Tensions between Russia and Israel are now soaring as Putin is threatening that Moscow will cut all diplomatic relationships with Jerusalem if Israel supports the Ukraine in any way. This, by the way, is our news bites. The U.S. is still unbelievable, but we're still eyeing some sort of nuclear deal with Iran. There are those that are saying it's already signed, sealed, and delivered, but nothing is going to be done until after the midterm elections. This is burning bridges between Israel and the U.S. under the Biden administration. Make no mistake about this. And without getting up on a soapbox and giving you a 45-minute sermon, let me just tell you, Genesis 12 comes into play. God promises to bless those that bless Israel and to curse those that curse Israel. And an agreement with Iran on a nuclear weapon is cursing Israel. Well, back to Israel now with our midterms elections coming up. Israel's got elections on November 1st. Lapid, the current lame duck prime minister, is now expressing concerns about Netanyahu that he's going to question the legitimacy of the election results. Sound familiar? And finally, I think more and more that the person that's going to be either the next prime minister / king of Israel or the kingmaker, I think is going to be Benny Gantz. And Benny Gantz and Bibi Netanyahu are trading barbs against one another. They're ruling out any future coalition between the two of them. Netanyahu is accusing Gantz of planning a Palestinian capital in Jerusalem. And Gantz says he'll never sit down with the former prime minister under any circumstances. And new polls indicate that we may be looking at a stalemate. So, polls in Israel are dicey at best. We're just going to have to wait and see. So that's our news bites, our major articles, and just a reminder that there's a PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this YouTube, and you can get all the photos and information on that PDF PowerPoint. Israel's newest concern in terms of Iran are the suicide Iranian drones. Russia is now successfully deploying Iranian-made kamikaze drones for aerial warfare in the Ukraine. And officials in Israel are worried that Hezbollah, the terror group, that pipeline from Iran through Syria to Hezbollah, could potentially begin using these same weapons against Israel. You can read about the details of these drones, but apparently they're formidable, and it's of great concern to Israel. In regards to Syria, it appears that Syria and Hamas has so-called buried the hatchet. They've agreed to kind of relaunch their commitment or their diplomacy or their working together. Of course, working together against what? Of course, Israel. After a warm and historic meeting between Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and Hamas, they've, in a sense, buried the hatchet and have agreed to move forward, creating more and more of their words, resistance against the occupiers or against the state of Israel. New concern. Having been on the border of Syria the couple times over the last 42 days, I know this, that Israel will never allow Iran to have that kind of weaponry used against them. And currently, although I did just recently read about a Israeli air attack in Damascus once again, I haven't had that confirmed yet, but the people that I trust in Israel, IDF intelligence, are basically telling me we're pouring all of the resources we possibly can into what is taking place in Iran at this particular time. They're seeing that the only hope is a regime change, and they will do all that they possibly can. Well, the latest Mahmoud Abbas rant, as he met with Putin, is, quote, "We don't trust America. The U.S. is the enemy." And so he's not officially cutting ties, but he's increasingly throwing Biden under the bus. He's comparing Biden to Trump. And again, his comments just of this last week: we don't trust America. We will not rely on it. Under no circumstances can we accept America as the sole party in resolving the problems we have with Israel. And so the cozying up once again to Russia. And here we go again with Russia, and more Russia. The UN just issued a report. Now remember, in Israel, the UN either stands for unnecessary or the United Nothings. But Israel blasted a report that came out last Thursday by the UN, an ongoing commission of the inquiry of the 11-day fighting that took place in Gaza with Hamas. That, of course, they allege the IDF rights abuses or whatever. A 28-page document, and it mentions Israel 277 times, but fails to mention Hamas even once. Israel slammed it as being biased and dismissive of the terror group's wrongdoing. As during the conflicts, do you remember the amount of rockets that Hamas fired? Keep in mind, this is not even referred to at one time in this report. There were over 4,000 rockets that were sent into Israel, sending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, into bomb shelters. But not mentioned even once in the report. Understanding why Israelis refer to the UN as unnecessary or the United Nothings. Yair Lapid, the current prime minister, concerned. I know that I think he's left. I don't even think he's center left. But the more I read about Lapid, the more concerns I have. He just made the comment that if he were reelected, if he is reelected, he would not change the status quo of the Temple Mount, which grants the Muslims the freedom to pray at the mosque, but not Jews nor Christians. His quote is, "We will take care of the freedom of worship for the Muslims at Al-Aqsa who can go up and pray. We will allow Jewish visitors to ascend the mount, but they cannot pray." And again, 1 and 1 does not make 2. not in the Middle East. This is insanity. More and more, I'm finding, years ago, been to Israel now about 50 times. It's crazy. Since 2005. And in 2005, the majority of Israelis that I met could care less about the Temple Mount. That's not true today. There were more Jewish visitors to the Temple Mount during Sukkot than ever before. Tens of thousands. This is not going to cut it. Well, last article, there's two, but I'm going to only refer to the last one. This is an Iranian update. They're flexing their muscles on the outside, but there is major internal strife on the inside. The protests, the ones that, as I mentioned, that the IDF is supporting in whatever way they can, the protests internally rage at home in Iran's theocratic government. It's flexing its muscles abroad, again, supplying Russia with suicide drones. They're bombing Kurdish positions in Iraq. But those moves are desperate moves to take the focus off of what's happening internally. The demonstrations continue over the death of Masha Amini, the 22-year-old woman who died in the custody of the country's morality police, rioting in the streets. And so, not sure what the outcome of all this is, but that's what's going on at this particular time. The last article I'm only going to refer to, I hope, I pray that you take the time to read it. Andrew Brunson was the evangelical pastor that was imprisoned in Turkey. Trump and Pence were instrumental in getting his release from Turkey. He was a speaker in Jerusalem at the Feast of Tabernacles, and what he had to say needs to be read by all believing evangelicals today. So I've included excerpts in the PDF. Please take the time to read them. And remember, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the upcoming elections in Israel. And pray for the upcoming elections, midterm elections here in the U.S. I can't say that I'm thrilled to be back. There's some things about home that's amazing, kids, grandkids, but my heart still longs to be in Israel. I hope one day you'll join us. There's nothing like walking the land. God bless. One last thing. We have a trip coming up in February. Check it out on our website. God bless and shalom.